we're back, so we take a look at Rise Nation today, and so far we've seen that they have a ridiculous domination record at 9-3.
Yeah.
When it comes to Blitz, still a positive record at 4-3, and they win 60% of their search and destroy games so far in COD League Season 3. But Jack, I want you to break it down for me. If I'm a team in the COD League, I have Rise Nation coming up on my schedule, what are some of the keys to beating Rise?
You know, this Rise squad, they play a lot off of momentum, and the first thing I say to take down Rise is you have to stop them in Game 1 in domination. You do not want this team to get out hot right away. Right now, as we said, 9-3 in Dom. If you could stop them in Game 1, that's your best chance to begin taking the series off of Rise. Then the number 2 thing for me is shutting down Attach. This guy dominates so far across all 3 game modes. We've highlighted that today. They're the team's MVP in domination and S&D, and he gives himself a good push there in Blitz as well.
He's definitely the star slayer on this squad.
So if you can try to shut down Attach, that's your best chance there. Then on top of that, you got to stop Pac-Man and S&D. If you can kill him, you know where the bomb's down at. I don't think enough teams have been taking advantage of that.
Right.
So when you kill Pac-Man, you say, okay, bomb's over at A. You can start your rotations earlier than other teams. I know a lot of teams deliberately don't let one person carry bomb because it gives up that idea to the other team. They gives them that intel that they shouldn't be able to get otherwise. And then finally, the last thing I would say is that you have to be Denial or TK, because I say this because both those squads are extremely good at domination. Those are the 2 teams that I really think could take a series off of Rise, and they've yet to play yet. We touched on this before a little bit. This team still has to face Evil Geniuses, Optic Gaming, Team Caliber, Denial. That's 4 of the best teams in the league.
Right. I mean, they have enormous wins so far. Let's take a look at some of the reasons that Rise is on top, and what are some of the keys they need to do to stay on top?
You know, this squad, to continue performing well in Season 3, they have to keep the momentum going. They have to keep playing well. They can't get distracted. Don't play other games. Continue using this as your big motivation to keep playing. So continue grinding is key. Then on top of that, I think they should really practice Blitz. You definitely touched on it before when you said you only get to play that once in a best-of-5 series. But, you know, if I'm a squad and I'm going to an event, I want to know that I'm not only good in domination and search, but I'm also great in Blitz. So if they practice that game mode, start getting more map wins there, I think we'll see way more 3-0s out of the squad. And finally, I think a big tell and story for this team will be if they can take out EG and Optic Gaming in their matches they have to play. As we said, we should have seen that match last night between them and Optic Gaming, postponed. But you'll be able to see that on the eSports report when that match happens. That is going to be 2 big matches for them.
So far, Rise Nation has faced off against some serious names. They've played FaZe, they've played Envy, they've played Optic Nation, and Curse. How do you think they stack up mentally against EG and Optic Gaming? Do you think there's any fear when they come into those matches?
You know, I say those 2 teams for a reason, and that's because right now they are the top 2 teams for everybody, I think, out there in Call of Duty competitive. And I think that if Rise can really step up to the task and take out these 2 squads that are definitely 2 of the biggest followings in Call of Duty, they'll prove that, you know, some of their wins against the struggling Elevate and Justice and Radius there, you know, they're not just flukes. This team is a real team, and if they can take those matches, not only will they, if they win those matches against TK, Denial, Optic Gaming, and EG be big, but it'll put them at something like 10-1 so far in the season, or even if they lose one of them, 9-2, you're looking real solid after the first few weeks of the league.
Looking solid. Well, let's compare the on-host versus off-host.
Yeah.
If you talk to any of the other players in Season 3, they'll immediately say that the only reason Rise is good is because they have host, or they play well on host because they have some guys on the West Coast. We broke down the numbers here, and that's not necessarily always true.
No, definitely not. You know, I think the MLG Twitter account tweeted something out like, what makes Rise so good? And I scrolled through the responses there because I love the Twitter interaction, and all I saw was Warriors, Internet. And you know what? Every team gets that advantage there with host. I think that that's something that everyone knows. Right now, they've played 14 maps on host. They've only lost 3, which was 2 S&D and 1 Blitz. But then off host, they've played 14 as well, or 15, I apologize. And they've only lost 7, so they're still positive.
So on host, they go 11-3.
Yeah.
Pretty darn impressive for a host. Off host, though, they're 8-7, still a winning record.
Yeah, they're still performing well, but to be honest here, everyone goes to that same issue of playing off host. No team is like, oh, I can't wait to play off host here. Everyone looks forward to playing on host. So I think that this squad is basically right with every other team. I don't think there is a massive of warriors, or at least in the stats it shows, but they definitely do have some sort of host advantage like everyone else.
I mean, if you look at their match schedule, this is really what gets me is people say, well, they're just host tours. They're able to win on host. Well,
Yeah.
they've played 7 matches. 4 of them have been as the away team. The away team only gets 2 hosts. The home team gets 3. So let's take a look at their matchups in that. They had to play Envy and Optic Nation in those series. We know they took out Optic Nation in that 5 games. They also took out Envy to start off the league. They took out Justice and Radius as well. Those two, a little bit less impressive in a lot of people's mind. But regardless, this is an off-host victory against 2 new squads. Justice, a top 4 team from the open bracket. Then on host, they played Elevate, FaZe, and Curse. And I mean, FaZe, considered by many, especially all the guys we interviewed, as a team that could potentially be top 3. Rise Nation still able to beat them.
Yeah, no, this squad winds up being better so far record-wise off host than on host, as they sit at 4-0 off host and 2-1 on host, meaning as the home team. So really, in the stats and the way you look at things there, it's not as big a difference as you'd think, as everyone just immediately calls them warriors. But to be honest here, if they're performing this well online and the stats are pointing this way and Attach can continue playing this way, I think it's going to transfer over to LAN quite well.
Wait, is this true? I'm looking through. They've played 7 matches, right?
Yeah.
They've won all 4 off host.
Yeah.
And the away matches.
Yeah.
100% win rate when they're not the hosting team for the weekend. Let that sink in,
All
haters.
you warrior,
All
you
right.
warrior comments.
So, final note here, guys, is the undefeated maps. What are the maps you don't want to run in to Rise Nation on?
I think that the maps you definitely don't want to run into them on are any of Attach's best ones, where especially in Search and Destroy, they're 5-1 on Warhawk and Sovereign, and as we said before, 6-0 in 2 of the domination maps. So one of them is Strike Zone. I can't remember the other off the top of my head, but
Strike Zone Dom and Octane Dom.
There you go, Strike Zone and Octane Dom. So you definitely don't want to face them on those. If you get those, you just got to kind of pray that you wind up taking that game, because you know Attach is going to go big there.
All right, well, guys, here's a look at our overall league standings. We've been talking Rise Nation all day, and it's for a reason. They're currently in the very top spot at 6-1. That's an 86% match win ratio. Their map wins 18-10. Optic Gaming is the closest team behind them at 5-2 with a 71% win ratio. From there, you can see Caliber and Denial. Denial falling from that number 2 spot all the way down to 4. At the bottom, Radius stays in their same position after going 1-1 on the night. Elevate drops to 0-8. So FaZe is in the middle of this pack. EG still sitting at 500. What are some of the moves you're expecting to see next week and the following weeks after Gfinity?
You know, I've been mentioning this quite a lot. I think Evil Geniuses is definitely going to wake up. I don't see them staying anywhere lower than top 6. I think they're going to wake up, even though Aches has got to go on his little penalty there for a little while. I think the squad's going to wind up kicking into gear. They've been having a lot of distractions. Once those kind of get out of the way, I expect them to make a push. As you mentioned, FaZe. I think that squad is still kind of getting some things in order. They've been performing especially well on LAN, and we're going to see more of it this weekend. But we'll see how they do in the coming weeks. And finally, my team to watch out for here is Curse. Sitting at 2-6 right now. They are definitely struggling. But they're all in a house together. They all play together all the time. They have a ton of team chemistry. I've been talking about that a lot on the ESR. I see them really making a push for even top 4 at the end of the season.
I like it, man. Well, Jack, thank you so much for putting all these notes together. I know the Rise Nation fans appreciate it out there. And I hope for everyone at home who doesn't have a brain, doesn't think for themselves, and really just reads everyone else's Twitter feeds, guys, start looking at the numbers for yourself. These teams deserve the respect that they've earned. Rise Nation is the top dog at the moment.
Yeah.
The question is, can they stay at the front of the pack?
You know, it'll be interesting to see. We don't have any more matches this week, but I know we have some upcoming matches starting back up on August 6th. We can see here. This, I think, Chris, I'll say it outright. I think this is the most talented day of matches we've had so far. I am so excited here. As you can see, our key match of the day, Optic Gaming versus Optic Nation at 7 p.m. there on Wednesday, August 6th. We have Radius versus Evil Geniuses as well, and Rise versus Denial. That'll be another huge matchup of the Domination superstars there. But then later on in the night, we'll see Optic Gaming play again against Radius. Then Rise with another rematch of the Open Bracket Championships at MLG Anaheim up against Optic Nation. And finally, to close out the night, Denial versus Evil Geniuses. Chris, that is a stacked lineup.
It's going to be incredible, guys. I got to run. I got a flight to catch over to London. Remember, Gfinity is this Saturday and Sunday, kicking off 4 a.m. Eastern on Saturday morning, going throughout the weekend. Jack, great show, my friend. Before we go, for all you Halo fans, some new cinematics came out. Take a look at Halo 2.
In the event of unexpected shutdown, the entire system will move to standby status. All remaining platforms are now ready for remote activation.
Remote activation? From here?
I must get inside. Then mount up, Orbit.
Your pal, where's he going?
Earth. To finish what we started. And this time, none of you will be left behind.
Don't make a girl a promise if you know you can't keep it.
The Chief is gonna jump in this tank, roll across the bridge, and blow up any inhuman son of a bitch dumb enough to get between him and the Prophet of Regret. Pull yourself together, because you're going with him.